Okay, so I think we are recording now, and it should be good. All right, guys, so like I said, we are gonna be today modeling an actual building. This is gonna be a low poly building. Low poly right now is being used a lot of apps, such as SimCity, for instance. That's kind of considered a low poly game. And so these games tend to be shorter and lighter as far as their file sizes. And you know, some devices, especially back in the day, were able to kind of handle them better than stuff that would be a little bit higher in resolution, higher in polygon counts. This is why you have these consoles like Xbox and PlayStation that can handle all these resolution, is because those consoles are meant for it. I just hope that you guys know that when you purchase a PlayStation 5, you're essentially purchasing a computer. That is a computer. The only thing is that that is meant for you to play games on it and to run those games, not for anything else necessarily. People use it for a bunch of things. But just know that that's what you're literally purchasing. Those consoles are even more powerful nowadays than a lot of our computers that we work on. So that is something to say as far as where the technology is. They can handle VR. They can handle these 3D graphics like anything else. And this is one of the reasons why, although I recommend you guys to purchase gamers computers, do not use it. Use it specifically for your work. In this case, your 3D work. Because you need a powerful computer to handle the graphics. But I would hate for you guys to be like, oh, I cannot install this software, or I cannot run this program, or I cannot save my files because my computer is just got to have a dedicated system, computer to do your work on. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started creating our very first low poly model. And the first is going to be to create a polygon. That's fine now. Remember, a poly. We may want to have access. Let's say I'm in top view now. So if I front view, that one screen. So now, what I'm going to do is I grab my new tool. Now I'll be scaling it up. Remember that's R on the keyboard. You can scale from the middle. Remember, Alt and left mouse button allows you to orbit. Now it's going to elongate this cube, make it as more rectangle shape. And this particular building that we're gonna create is gonna be a little bit cartoony. So we'll try to make it tapered towards the bottom. And in order for us to do that, we need to access the sub menu set where we can get access to the actual faces. So the face on a polygon, I'm gonna just right click on top of my selected object. You'll see it on their face. So go to the object and right click on top of it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, right there. Yeah. Click and hold. Go ahead. Select the object. Right click. Everybody got that? Okay. Go ahead, select face. Let that go. Now, a polygon cube in this case has 6 sides. I want to select the one on the bottom. Now, with my scale tool selected from the middle, I'm going to just click and drag slightly so that I get a little bit of that taper effect. So Modbox is similar to ZBrush where you can actually sculpt.
So it's more of a sculpting.
Exactly right. Maya in this case is going to allow us to create the basic shapes.
Right. So it's not like going to be incredibly detailed. It's more like just blocks and like other single polygon structures, not like actual like intricate details.
Exactly right.
That's more of like blocks. Okay.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So because we're making buildings that are mostly square, it's easy to create right here on Maya. If we were to create characters, at some point we need to go into Modbox or ZBrush. All right, very good. So by now you should have the one tapered building. And what I will do now is I'm going to right click again. We can hold and select object mode so that we can get out of the face selection. And you would notice that now your object will turn green on the selection on the edges. Okay, and now we're going to duplicate this object. So grabbing the move tool and having the object selected, I'm going to hit Control D. Now, you can also do edit, duplicate, and you would see Control D. That's a keyboard shortcut right there. Now, I'm just going to move that out of the way and scale it down. And put it in place just like so.
So is it like connected to the
No, it's not connected at all. They're two different objects. They're just literally like, just overlapping each other. Right? Remember, if you press number 4 on your keyboard, it's going to allow you to see the actual wireframe. If you want to see what's happening underneath. Number 5 will take you back to the shaded mode.
wireframe, like wireframe.
Oh, and also you should know right here at the very top of the panel of your view panel, you have also the wireframe option, the shaded option. And if you press this guy right here, it gives you both shaded and wireframe. Right over here. Little guy there. Everybody doing good so far? Duplicate, select the object, Control D.
Oh, this is not-
All right. So we make some progress so far. Go ahead and see this actual project. This might be a good idea, right? So, because this is gonna be like an actual thing that we're gonna be developing, hopefully a little bit more. You can save it as a project, just like I showed you guys last time. Or for right now, because I wasn't able to upload the images I wanted to upload. You can save it as a scene. So let me think about this. All right, let's save it properly. Let's save it properly because I want to show you. I want to go over that process one more time. So go File. And go Project Window. Again, that is File, Project Window. Project Window should come up with all this. You will now place your current project in the proper place by clicking New. Let's call it Low Poly Building.
So is there like a folder on the extra and all some that's don't be isn't like faculty white and desktops everything.
Maybe. I honestly don't know too much about that. The idea is that you will put it on your USB drive or hard drive. If you don't have one, then what I would probably do, put it temporarily on the desktop, but make sure that you make some sort of backup of it. Whether you send it via email to yourself or something along those lines. All right, I will go to my USB drive and save it there. So you decide where you would like to save your project. Remember, that is by clicking on the location path, right on the folder, click there, and then you get to select wherever you want to save it. And then click Accept once you're done.
Select this.
Right, so the location, you select this folder first. And then you go to whatever location you want. So if you want to save it on the desktop, go desktop. If you have an external hard drive, go to my computer, select the hard drive there. So really up to you to decide which location to use. Again, if you don't have no place to save it, although you should have an external hard drive with you today, if you don't have it, no big deal. Save it on the desktop for now. And then what you will do is that you will email that folder to yourself. That's how I would do it if I wouldn't have my thing with me today. Yeah, so but it's up to you to decide where you would like to select it. Once you do, click Accept. All right, everybody got that step done? Yes. Yes, great.
Yeah, we said.
And now, exactly right, very good. We go into File and Set the project. Go back to that location. mine right there, low poly building. And I'm gonna click set. All right, so all of that was just setting up the project. We have not saved yet. We just created the project. Now, how do we save the project? The actual scene, sorry. File, save scene, or save scene as.
That would just say CS.
Yeah, and you can do here, low poly building underscore 01 or version 1. And that way you can keep a close count of whenever time you save it.
Can we save it in the problem project folder?
Yes, yeah, so it's already set for you. So notice here, mine is already on my E drive, which is my hard drive, low poly building, which is the project, and it's on the scenes of the low poly building. So it's already set it up for me. And all I have to do now is just really the save. And I like to do underscore or 1 for the version. So I suggest you do something similar. Underscore or B01 for version 01. In that way, you can always keep close track. And if something goes wrong, or your file maybe gets corrupted, you can always go to the previous version. That's a good thing about saving it under different names each time. If you save it under the same name, so let's say I just keep it under low poly building underscore 01. If that file is corrupted, I lose everything. I lose everything. Versus doing different versions where I can just go back to a previous version. That's just a pro tip right there. All right, so go ahead, save that. And now let's go ahead and create a window.
Oh, just saving to the instrument guide, but it says that the location is not.
Did you set it up? That means that the setup, when you did the setup, then something went off.
Okay.
Right, so just go over project window again, set it up again, and then just reset it. That was probably the easiest way. All right, so ready to create a window. What I would do now is select multiple objects, both of these. Remember, you can do so by clicking and dragging through the whole scene with this marquee. That selects all, or I can select one and then shift select the second one. And now this gives me access for both. Just move that slightly out of the way. Just click and drag on your scene, or click one, shift, select the second one. And just move it out of the way so that it's not on the origin point. Remember, the origin point will be this place right here, where is the 0, 0, 0 line or line. That's that there. Let's go ahead and create. No, you know what? Actually, this time around, here's what we're going to do. We're going to select the actual bigger building, and we're going to duplicate this one more time. So Control D. Now we're going to scale that down. Remember, you can also use multiple views. Yeah, and for this particular one, you want to make sure that, especially when you go to the front view, that window, the size of the window, covers about, I would say, 1 quadrant. Could be slightly bigger than that. And the reason is because you want at least 2 windows to be here. So one will go here, the other one will probably go here. But the way we're going to go about it will be creating one window at a time And then once we have the entire thing set up, we can do the video. Or around your scene and make sure you end up with something that kind of looks like this. Smaller version of that building. Now, can anybody guess why duplicating the bigger building is a better choice than just creating just another polycube?
Yeah, to recreate a dimension.
The dimensions. One, the style. I will go as far as saying the style. The visual design that we already created for the first big building block is already there set up for us. And we want to make sure that all the elements that we create through this scene conserve that same design. And that's why it's better to actually duplicate that one instead of having to do it. All right, now, once you have created that box that eventually will become a window, we're now gonna work with our first modeling tool. It's called extrusion. Okay. So in order for us to do that, we're gonna go ahead and right click on top of the window polygon that we just created and select faces. And now we can go into select the front. Select the very front face. And you can go into edit mesh, extrude. Who can tell me what's the keyboard shortcut for extrusion? Control E. Very good. So we're gonna just hit that the one time. It's very important that you hit it only one time. If you start just hitting it a couple of times, then you might replicate the actual function. And we don't want that, because then we have a bunch of faces that we don't know where they came from. It's usually because you started applying a command multiple times. So the extrusion has a couple of interesting features here. Number one, it gives us all these handles, additional handles, but it also gives us a little bit of a window where we can manipulate better our selection. So there is the thickness. And what I'm going to do here is just left click and drag. So hover over the word thickness. Left click and drag back and forth. So you can also just input the actual value. So you can do, for instance, 1, and that's what it will do. Right. I'm actually going to go with 0.1 for this one. Yes, go ahead. So extrusion automatically is going to give you this little pop-up. And all I did was go into thickness, and you can click and drag the value, or just literally type 0.1.
Most of those ones, like how that will pop up with like, not sure I'm doing the process extruding correctly. I have to like have the face selected first.
And is it?
I did shift E.
Local translate Z also gives you something very similar than thickness did.
If you deselect it, how do you get the window back up?
If you put it away,
Yes.
yeah, you may not want to do that, because once you do, it goes away. So Control Z is going to be your best friend. Does anybody know what Control Z does?
Undo.
Undo, yes. Always undo. Okay, we have offset, and notice what offset does. Right, so we can really play with that. I'm gonna go ahead and set the offset to 0.1 as well. You also have divisions. Notice what these do. So adds more geometry, right? At this point, we're gonna keep it as is. And then keep faces together. If you switch that to off, then you kind of like will not keep them together. So keep that as on, please. And actually, you can push that inwards slightly. And you can push inwards just by going into the gizmo here. And just clicking and dragging inwards the arrow. This one right here. So this one would be the Z arrow. Oh, and by the way, this right here represents the X, Y, and Z axis. So you would see right here the little 3 arrows and their label. So the yellow, the green one will be the Y. The red one, who can tell me what that is? X. And the blue one? Exactly right. So in this case, if I'm moving this one, this will be the Z axis. At least from the angle that I'm at right now, because I can change my angle. Right? And the view. So just push that inward ever so slightly. Or you can also just type down -0.1 in the local translate Z. So negative. That will give me a slight inwards. I think I want to go -0.16 actually. I think it looks a little bit better. And once you get there, at that stage, what I would like you to do is to do now get another extrusion on top of this one. So now we're going to do it using the T shortcut. So Control E. You will see a slight change, and also all the values come back to defaults. And now I'm going to push this backwards even further using my Z axis. Now that starts looking like a window right there. Try it. If you run into issues, please let me know.
So.
What we haven't done in a little while. What we haven't done for a little while now, that must be done. Every 10 minutes or so. Go ahead.
So. Let's do this. So first, one time, allow you to move it. Let's do the second time.
Go ahead. Okay.
Still bring up that. Like you want it. Well, right here, just like. You know,
All right. Good, moving on to the next thing. Now we are gonna, so we have kind of like the window, but we haven't finished it yet. Now we need details, right? So in order for us to add those details, we can create a let's go ahead and create a cube, actually, for the details. And although I may want to keep the style and the design going, I think that because this is going to be scaled down so much that we might lose some of that. It might be too thin in certain areas. And that's why I decided to just go off with the new cube. I'm going to place this cube now, right there. And by the way, you remember that you can always use multiple angles. So I'm going to place this cube close to my window so that I can have a good notion of the scale. And what I would do is with my scale option, remember that is R. Yes. So clicking R, you can scale it down just like so, scale it down just like so. And try to make that little detail there for the window fit.
like that.
Okay. Now, do not make sure that it's kind of proportionate, meaning that if it's too thick, it's gonna look off. If it's too thin, it's gonna look off. So just kind of like use your best judgment for that. Once you're done with that piece, you're gonna duplicate it using the rotation tool. Rotate, and then you're gonna scale for 8 to 3 as well. Okay, and that will be your cartoony looking window for your building. Go ahead and do it. Let me know if you're running into any issues. So that's because we're running that. Yes, that's all. Go ahead and say that. So in order to you see, it doesn't allow you to select that place. And now very good. Like moving around?
Yeah, so like,
Whatever. What do you want?
I have to spin it and spin it around.
Oh, okay, so that's because you are, so this will be like kind of a flat view. And in order for you to be able to see like that, you want to be your perspective. So when you lose your perspective view, you can go with panels. You can also navigate by using actually with space. But in order to navigate, you're going to hold on top. And then, very good. Oh.
Yes.
How do I bring up the window?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see.
Yeah, you want it, you don't need this. You're trying to just-
Yeah, instead of just using the handles, I'm trying to like. Window that helps you just like put in a specific coordinate.
That's the way it's happening.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think these are their.
Yeah. So you get like perfect. Hands. Oh.
Oh, it's fun. Why don't they have?
So like. Is that?
Oh. Well, actually, I had to do with like, the mesh, right? Yeah. So, like, we're like one thing we have to do, we're going under that element, that's my thing, you know, and we were able to like. Yeah, we were able to like insert into itself, you know. Kind of that, I guess, it's true, right? It's true, like, whether it's true. She's trying to figure out how to make it like, it's
You're the master.
I mean, I have wire right on, so, yeah, see, it's like. Actually have wire for long time. We're doing, I don't know. Like, I have shit, I have.
Now. Did you break it? You really want to.
I was thinking, and then it's like offset or like.
Or. You.
And you said copy the face one, change the bill. Control room.
Not the face, the whole.
Try offset.
So you can.
How do you get back in here? That's good. Maybe just put a double up face. Okay. You needed a full up. It's literally.
How would you over here? You want to get?
You're doing great. She's infused and how to like this little. It's I saw it. It's
So, one.
doing. Oh, I did. The Yes. Thank you.
So when you're working with polygons,
you pretty much have a lot of different people that you work with, whether it's the face, the corners, or the edges. All right, everybody. Everybody going? Oh, one. Okay, so yes, right now we've created our first window. I think everybody is okay with it. What we're gonna be doing now is creating a planter right in front of the window. So let's go ahead and grab now the smaller building. And guess what we're gonna be doing with it? Control D. Control D. We're creating a duplicate of that. And we're gonna be scaling that down so that it resembles a planter. Grab my scale tool all the way down. Remember, you can use multiple views to make your life a little bit easier. Place that planter in front of the window. F. Press the letter F. I think this one's still big, so let's. All right, and now I'm going to show you. Go ahead and do this piece because I want to show you one more tool. Well, and this has to do with the subcomponents of a polygon. So far we know now faces. We know how to access the faces of each polygon. What I'm going to show you now is how to manipulate edges. That's going to be the second one. So go ahead, make your planter look something like that. It can be a little bigger, it can be a little smaller. I don't mind. I just want to have that located roughly of that area. Once you do, we're going to right click on the planter and select edge. And we're going to select now the edges and move them slightly backwards.
How do you select the edges?
Right click on top of the object. So this is the component mode, and you go to edge.
There a way to make the orthographic views, because perspective views feel like sides does not. They go on an absolute side view instead of a side view of an object.
So right click and just go to side view. Anyways, so I will select both of those edges. You can select multiple edges by holding Shift. So I select the one on the bottom, the one on top. Now I can just move that backwards. Okay. So anyways, I end up with something that kind of looks like this. So here's the window, here's the planter, and I'm okay with that. Looks okay. I'm going to right click, go to faces, select the top face of the planter, extrude that inwards,
just like so. That's kind of similar to what we did with the actual window. And now I can push that in slightly. And I can extrude again if I wish. Just like that. Yes.
I lost my.
Okay, I'll be right there. Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that.
Okay, very good. I think you're in the right direction. Go ahead. Right there. Just like now the same thing with and now extrude again. Now go. There you go. Just extrude it again.
I have a question. So for some reason, it's not, like, if I select the top face here, it seems to not be extruding. Like, it's like one side or one side.
I'll be right there. So what happens?
Side, side.
Right. No, because we're going to front it from the middle. No, not from that. All right. So good. We have our lantern there, good to go. Remember, you can right click and go back to object mode once you're done, so that you can actually move the whole object and not just the face or anything like that. You can still scale this thing up or down if you want to. But at this moment, what we're going to be doing is grabbing all this, right? And we want all these objects to behave like one. We don't want to merge them together. We just want them to behave as a single unit. This is called grouping. In order for you to be able to group on Maya, you can go into man. Yeah, I know the shortcuts, and I'm a little fussy in terms of where they are. It's Control G. Control G is good. So select everything, the window and the planter, and the window details, and go Control G. Now, how do you know if the group was made successfully? If you go to your outliner, that you guys can see right here. And this is why I suggest everybody working with the outliner out there at view, is because you always know exactly what's happening on your scene. You would see that now, everything will be selected whenever I select that group.
Also put it in a layer.
You can do that, but because Maya is not Photoshop, right? Photoshop is very layer friendly, and that's kind of like how you operate and how you work. In Maya, layers would be more beneficial when maybe I'm trying to render one scene and I want to break it out into maybe just the background, foreground, and midground, maybe at that point I would use layers. For more rendering purposes than to just save objects in there. Although you can save objects, the grouping thing is always going to be a better option for this. Now, notice that when you group stuff together, and again, open up your outliner. If you haven't opened it yet, you can go into Windows, Outliner. It's right there. How did you put the object, by the way?
Control U.
Control D, yeah. Anyways, when you have the group selected, notice that the actual pivot or gizmo is kind of like away. It's not on the center. In order for us to fix this, you can go into modify center pivot. Right on the board. Screen.
So is that the more information skill?
I'm actually, so what time we're here together? 45. Oh, okay. So,
I was just curious.
okay, good. 2.5. So again, go ahead and center that pivot and notice how it automatically goes where it needs to go. And now I would place that window on my building. So I just select the whole group, push it back, angle it, because remember we have that taper thing. So angle that slightly. Now, there's a little bit of an issue. The planter is kind of like floating on the air. I don't like that. I feel that planter needs some sort of support. So you can do that. That's one option. But one thing that you can also do, and this is kind of going more into the detailing aspect of them, is that you can literally create a support, right? So a support here, in my case, it will be a triangular one. So I can grab one primitive polygon and create that. I can duplicate an object from up here and create that then. So I don't know, I'll give you guys the choice to decide how you want to approach that support. I personally gonna go into just creating a new object and shaping it so that it resembles a support. Yes, the objects will always come out in the order of this. So, I would just kind of do something like this. I can move the edge around. So that it creates that support that I'm looking for. I can maybe move the bottom edge. And kind of create that support like this. Go into my object mode and make it fit by spinning it down into my scene. Now, of course, you can go into multiple views to do this. However you feel is easier and, to do. Go for that. Eventually, we will learn a lot of different techniques that's going to allow us to do more fancy stuff. At this point, I understand that we're just placing blocks together. I get it. But I feel that this is just going to be a good way to kind of easing our way into actual model. So first, let's learn how to manipulate boxes. And eventually, we'll go in and start creating curves and more fancy objects that will look much better. And the great thing is that you can be as precise as you want with this, but every single little bit does add that just layer of believability when done right. Nice. Not too shabby. Maybe when you look at it from the bottom, starts to look okay. Well, I mean, it's 3D, so
The video recording is.
if I have the space, I would love to put it there. Otherwise, here's one thing that I can do. I can load it up to my YouTube and give you guys on the announcements the actual link for it. We'll do that for now. All right. Now, as you guys create that support, and it's going to be probably many other details that we'll want to add to this. But right now, I just want you to go to your outliner. So make sure your outliner is there visible. I'm going to work with that right now. And I would like to add these 3 banisters or supports, sorry, to the group that I just created. Here's how you go about it. You shift select the objects you want to be added to the group, and then you middle mouse button, hold and let go on top of the group. I'm going to do that one more time. I'll select the 3 objects. That scroll wheel that we have on the mouse, I'm going to press it down, because that's a button, hover over the group and let go. And that is how you add objects to a group. If you now select the whole entire group, you would see that those items will be there selected as well as part of the group. It is only at this point that I can go ahead and duplicate the group and now create another group. Now I can select multiple groups, holding, what do I need to hold? Shift. Holding shift, and I can do Control D. Now I have 4 windows. Complete with support and everything. Save your work.
Right, that's the thing.
And remember, when you're saving, especially when you have significant progress made, save as a different version, guys. Do not just save on the same version, because if that file ever gets corrupt, you lose everything.
How do you make it? Just save as again?
Save as. Yeah, if you just hit Control S, it's gonna save under the current version, whatever one that is. Save as is gonna allow you to now rename to a different version. I have time to show you one more tool. This one is gonna be the loop tool. For the cutting edge. Those loops. Insert edge loop. That's what. So go to Mesh Tools and go to the Insert Edge Loop.
Can you please repeat that?
Go to the Mesh Tools and then go to Insert Edge Loop. When you click there, the first thing you're going to be prompted to is to select an edge. And you want to select an edge close to the top of your tallest building. Just like so. Notice I'm just clicking and holding. I'm not letting it go just yet. But I can, define how thick or thin the border edge is going to be. Make it just about there, let go, and that automatically created a loop around my geometry. I see some confused faces. I'm going to do this one more time. So, okay, I got nothing selected. Select the tallest building. Step number one. Step number two, go to Mesh Tools. Step number three, Insert Edge Loop. Click there. It's going to tell you, click and drag on an edge. I'm going to select this edge right here. Click and drag. Let go. And now I have a nice little board.
Because for some working for whatever reasons, I clicked the building. And I put Mesh Tools and I put Insert Edge Loop. But it,
Click on an edge. The edge of that building.
it doesn't seem to work.
I'll be there. Okay, anybody else got issues with that? No, everybody has got it. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do next. We're going now to right click, go to the faces. And notice this. I will hover over this face. So I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna shift, notice that plus sign right there. Shift select the next one. But now, if I just click the one time, notice this. Okay, don't do anything, just look at what I'm doing first, okay? If I just select this one, I still have to manually select these two that are left, right? I'm gonna make this wireframe so you can see. So I select this one, shift select this one, shift select this one, and shift select, I can do that. Or, here's a pro tip, you select this one, shift double click the next one and selects the entire loop around. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna extrude that edge out, just like so. And you can even give it a slight tilt if you want. But that eventually just makes it look a little bit more like a book. Go ahead and do that. And take your vote.
Then you select the kind of one.
Sorry, extrude. Got it. And make sure to do that little extrusion. Perfect. Now the original, exactly. So safe you. Yeah, it wasn't you. I don't know how it was. All right, guys. If I were to ask you, can you do a door for that building? Could you do it now?
Sure, yeah.
At least the frame of a door, you should be able to do at this point, right? How do you make the knob, right, of a door? It doesn't have to be that knob.
Cylinder and circle.
A circle, yeah, a sphere, and probably a rectangle. Pretty much it. You kind of play with that. So I will give you guys as a homework to actually go ahead and give me a door. Give me an edge for the smaller building, as well as a garage opening. Right? The garage opening doesn't have to be crazy. I just want an opening, extruded opening there, so that it resembles some sort of frame. Like, okay, there's a garage there, kind of similar to what we did with the windows. I'm not asking here for nothing special or difficult. I'm just asking that you follow the same exact process that I showed you on the windows to create the rest of the items that will go onto this building. Well, we're not turning it in. You gotta make sure that you bring it back, because next class we're gonna keep working at it.
Okay, so like we're not turning anything in, there's like nothing to actually do.
No, there is an assignment. You're just not gonna turn it in immediately next class. We're gonna keep on building on it.
Wait, so how do you verify what we've done it? I think how do we?
Well, I do expect for everybody to have it ready. And if you're not, then you're gonna be missing out on the rest of the stuff that we're gonna do. Because it will not be there.
But like, is there gonna be like an assignment that we actually have to like do and then either like turn in or like?
So yes, assignment, create a door, create a garage opening, create the top corner of this building. That's the assignment.
Is there gonna be a blackboard thing where we have to like turn in our progress or?
Would it, So I'm trying to not put that pressure on you, but if you guys want to turn everything in, I can just do a Blackboard thing.
I think it's just part of like the learning process, kind of like building on every week, so it's not like you need to turn it into just like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Alright. But if you guys want me, I can make that Blackboard thing. Just one more time. I really like it. So yeah. So just create a progress, okay? Create a progress on your own. But just make sure to have it ready. Maybe all we do is, open it up into your computers and we'll have everybody kind of cruise around to see what everybody did. That's kind of like it. I just want you guys to build on this. Eventually, it's my goal for us to have not a city, but like a block, like a city block that we can do together. Because I believe that by the time we finish, you'll be familiar with modeling. You'll be able to do some things. You'll be able to be dangerous.
So is the garage a separate building, or is it the smaller?
Well, the garage is this little thing right there. Yeah, so garage opening. Okay.
Did you
Yeah,
want,
I don't have time to open Photoshop and to do it today. Garage, actually, hang on, I got something. Here's what I wanted. This was my intention for you guys, to actually have this concept work so that you guys could follow it. Of course, we did it. I did it all over my head. So this doesn't look like that. I wasn't looking at the reference wall model. But that's kind of like what it was. So, but here, instead of this, like an actual garage opening.
gotcha.
Add some onions too. We'll work
While
while
you're
we
at it.
Anyways, we'll work with this together as we move forward. For now, just do those things. Easy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just extruding, adding some edge loops here and there, extruding one more time. That's pretty much it. Okay.
Very fun.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
It's for this.